evening, everybody. My name is Jim Scanlon. I'm the superintendent of the Westchester Area School District. Thank you so much for logging in and coming out to hear about the Westchester Cyber Program tonight. This actually was an idea and a concept that came out of our comprehensive plan 2 years ago. And who would have thought 2 years ago, as we were talking about entering into the cyber world, that it would be such a popular program this year. And of course, much of that is due to COVID-19. Thank everybody for all of their input and their patience as we all work together through this pandemic to find a way to open our schools as safely as possible. Part of our plan has certainly been to offer a cyber program. And strategically, our school board passed a comprehensive plan 2 years ago where we were planning to open up our own cyber program this fall, starting with grades 6 and 9. And of course, the pandemic has caused us to accelerate that a little bit so that we're going to open up the program 6 through 12 this fall as an option for parents who may be looking at doing a cyber program. Now cyber program, you'll hear more about it tonight, is very different than remote learning that we went through in the spring. So we want to make sure that we delineate the two different kinds of programs that we're offering. This program is being recorded, and this information that we'll be showing tonight will also be available up on our website. So if you know of anybody who wasn't able to tune in and hear information, this information will be available on our website as well. There are questions that you can submit questions. There's a link in the chat box for questions to come in. Also, there will be a QR code that will show up periodically through the presentation. That's up on the main slide here right now, and you can submit questions through that QR code. So let's get into why would you choose a Westchester Cyber Program. There are many cyber charter options out there in the community. We know that there are some 18 cyber charter schools in the state of Pennsylvania. But our concept of cyber program, you get all of the backing of the Westchester Area School District. These are just some of the examples of the awards and rankings that our school district has. We're very proud of the work that our teachers do in the classroom and very proud of the successes that our students have. We have 94% of our students go on to some type of post-secondary education, and we're recognized at the state, the county, and also the federal level with regard to some of the awards that we get. Some data that when you look at some of the state data, when you compare our program to what is out there with some of the cyber charter schools. This is just a sixth grade, an example of sixth grade Pennsylvania's system of state assessment scores. In 2019, we did not give the state assessment last year because of the pandemic shutdown. But Westchester is in the left and the blue, and that you can see our scores for sixth grade are much higher. Also with English language arts and also math for any of the other cyber charter schools. And someone would say, well, yeah, but you're comparing a brick and mortar program to a cyber program. And it's really not comparing apples to apples. And that's true. And we'll get some data this year with the first year of running our program. But I will tell you that for those of you who may be just looking at our cyber program because of the concerns you have with some of the plans we're trying to do to open up our schools, and you just want to have a cyber option just to kind of let things settle down when we get a vaccine, you want to come back. The transition back from our program to our brick and mortar schools will be much simpler because, again, it's our teachers, it's our curriculum, it's all of our transcripts. We will be following the progress of the students very closely. And when we come in from any school, whether it's a charter school or another public or private school, there's a whole transcript review that has to be done. It just takes a little bit longer for that transition coming back. So if you're in our program, it's much easier transition coming back, and you have access to all of our teachers and all of our activities in our schools as well. So seventh grade, if we go to the next slide, is very similar scores. I won't go through all of that, but you can see again Westchester's in the blue. And if you go to eighth grade, on the next slide, same kinds of things. Westchester outperforms all of the cyber charter schools. And we'll get some first-year data on our program as students are in that for this year, if in fact we give the PSSAs again this year. So let's go to the next slide here. These are some of the activities. And now, again, our program was designed pre-COVID, which means that for anybody that was in, if you're enrolling in our program, not just because of COVID, but you're interested in a cyber program, you do have access to activities. So you participate if you're at Fugit on the Fugit sports teams, if you want to be part of that, or Stetson sports teams, or the Pierce sports teams. You have access to the musicals and the plays, not just to attend, but be part of that. All the various clubs that take place after school. So you can actually do your work online. You have a little bit more flexibility. Some kids like to get a little bit more sleep and then do their work at their own pace. But you still have access to all of those activities. Again, we were designing this pre-COVID. Now, assuming we have activities this fall, we're not too sure how that's all going to work with the pandemic, and we're still waiting for some guidance from the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association, as well as the Department of Health, the State Department of Health, on some of that. But post-COVID, once that is all over, you'll have access to all the wonderful activities in our schools. Again, being part of our cyber program gets you access to not only the teachers and the curriculum and the transcript changes, but also the activities in our schools. We go to the next slide, Chris. As we're looking at this year, it's a very strange and different year, and I know families have to weigh their choices once we finalize what our in-school program is going to look like versus whether you want to enroll in the Westchester Cyber program. We really would ask people to commit for a year under normal times, but because it is very abnormal right now, if people want to return back to the building for a transition back to the building, as things settle down and perhaps we get a vaccine, we would like to do that at marking period junctions or a natural point such as a Thanksgiving break or a winter break. So we are trying to be flexible, but we also trying to get enrollment numbers because it is a staffing piece for us that we need to know if we need to add more staff and shift more staff into this program based on enrollment numbers. And it can be somewhat flexible. We know this year is a very unusual year, and we want to work with people. But we do ask if you can commit to commit, and if you need to transition back, we would like that happen at the different times that are natural breaks throughout our school year. Let's go to the next slide, Chris. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our cyber supervisor, Dr. Kristen Barnello. Some of you, maybe you have heard from Kristen if you've had some questions. And again, if you have questions during this presentation, you can put them in the link in the chat or the QR code that's up now. If you scan, we'll be able to, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. So again, thank you for coming out, and thank you for taking a look at our cyber program here in Westchester. Thanks so much for all of your support for our programs and for helping us work through some very difficult and challenging times right now to get our schools open as safely as possible for all of our students and our staff. Kristen?
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. I'm so glad that so many families are joining us tonight to learn more about the Westchester Cyber Program. Over the past few weeks, I've spoken to many of you, either through email or on the phone, as you consider the different options available to you. My team and I have worked to create a presentation for you this evening, knowing that many of you, this cyber option is a short-term solution until a vaccine is discovered. We will be sharing information about our program, but we will also be addressing many of the frequent questions that have been asked of us in the past few weeks. Again, I'd like to remind you that we are collecting questions throughout tonight's presentation through the link shared with you in the chat thread. To conclude our presentation this evening, Dr. Sokolowski, our Assistant Superintendent, and Dr. Clifton, one of our instructional technology coordinators, will address any of the common questions as we end the evening. I would also like to share with you that next week on Monday, July 20th, our Pupil Service Department will be hosting a virtual open house at 6 p.m. specific to students with 504 plans, IEPs, GIPs, and our English language learners. Registration information for that program will be shared later on this week. Joining me this evening are instructional technology coordinators who will be managing our technology and collecting questions from our community. We also have with us a few of our Westchester cyber teachers that you'll have the opportunity to meet this evening. Before diving into the Westchester cyber program, I do want to take a moment to address the most common question we have been receiving. How is Westchester cyber program different than what we experienced this past spring? This past spring, our community, along with the whole world, faced an immediate crisis, and as such, we went into crisis response mode. We provided our students with basic, minimal instruction to conclude the year. It was less than ideal, and not at all reflective of what you will experience in the Westchester Cyber Program. Our program has been part of the strategic plan of the district and is built upon a solid infrastructure years in the making. From the decision for us to go one-to-one with our technology and the investment in Schoology as our learning management system 6 years ago, the ongoing professional development we've offered our teachers, the Westchester Area School District is ready at this time to launch our full online cyber program. Additionally, our cyber program is staffed by Westchester teachers who have been part of a competitive application process and who have been provided with extensive training specific to a fully online learning environment. That said, if we do have to close again in the 2020-21 school year, we know we have to do better. We are making significant investments in our teaching staff to ensure that all teachers are equipped with the skills to deliver high quality instruction in a remote setting. As compared to the past spring, teachers will be expected to deliver more live class sessions, teach their entire curriculum, and students will be expected to attend class and they will receive grades for their work. I know these are pressing questions for all families, so I wanted to be sure to address them at the start of tonight's session. I will now introduce you to the Westchester Cyber Program in greater detail. As part of the Westchester Cyber Program, I want to stress that although students are learning online, they are not learning in isolation. As part of our program, our teachers and leadership team will build a strong sense of community. As part of that, we have the Cyber Center located at Fugate Middle School, where students can work collaboratively on group projects, they can engage in social activities, and they can just have a space to do some work quietly. This year is unlike any other, and we will open the Cyber Center if and when we're able to do so safely. As a student in the Westchester Cyber Program, your child will participate in an orientation setting that will allow them to navigate technology, develop the time management skills necessary to be a successful cyber student, and to create lasting friendships with their cyber peers. You will see that we have planned a cyber family picnic in August, which as of right now is a tentative date as we continue to monitor the guidance of local and state health organizations. We know that as parents, you want to make sure that you can help your child be as successful as possible. We will provide you with a cyber parent orientation night in August and ongoing support through a parent support website. In your chat thread, you will see the link to one of the videos we will provide our cyber parents to support you. We invite you to take a moment to bookmark this video and review it at a later time. While we have specific supports in place as part of the Westchester Cyber Program, your child will continue to benefit from the team at their school. Middle school can be a challenging time for students as they progress through different developmental milestones. The relationship they have built with their counselor is critical to their continued academic success and social emotional well-being. We will now explore the middle school cyber courses. I would like to take a moment to remind you that we are collecting questions throughout this evening, and we will address some of the most frequently asked questions at the conclusion of our presentation. Please use the link or the QR code on the screen to submit your questions. As you can see at the middle level, students in our cyber program will take a course load that mirrors our students in the brick and mortar setting. We offer courses in all 4 core areas of English language arts, math, science, and social studies. We also offer courses in the unified arts and world language. In the past few weeks, we have seen some interest from students who want to take another world language course online. When we developed the Westchester Cyber Program, we developed Spanish as it was the most enrolled language course in our middle schools. Because our world has changed, and we know the continued study of a language is critical to being a successful student, we are exploring a partnership to deliver other world languages in our cyber setting to students. We will share that final plan with our community by the end of this month. For some courses, specifically our English and math courses at the middle school level, students can earn honors credit. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Ferguson, one of our cyber math teachers, to explain our leveling of courses in the Westchester Cyber Program.
Good evening, everyone. In courses like social studies, students are grouped together with their grade level peers and are learning the same content, but the provided learning materials and assessments will differ based on their ability. Students who display their learning above grade level will be able to earn honors and accelerated honors credit in these courses. Other courses, such as mathematics, students are more homogeneously grouped based on the sequencing of those courses. Students who display their learning above grade level will be able to earn honors and accelerated honors credit as well in those classes.
Thanks, Jeff.
Of course.
Another question that often comes up is about our science labs. We have Karen O'Neill, one of our cyber science teachers here, to explain how the virtual lab program will work.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karen O'Neill. I've been with the district for 16 years and teach 6th grade science at Fugate Middle School and Westchester Cyber Academy. I live in Westchester Borough with my husband, Harry. I have 2 children who graduated from Ruston and 4 stepchildren and 2 step-grandchildren. So when we think of science, we think of experiments, labs, hands-on lessons, and kids love doing it. You must be thinking, how will it look like in a virtual setting? Is my child going to have the same experiences as the brick and mortar students? And the answer is yes. I will be providing the same experiences using a variety of formats. And yes, this will also include some hands-on experiments and demonstrations that can be done at home using household items. The variety of formats I'll be using will demonstrate the processes and understanding of the scientific method and deepen their understandings of science concepts taught throughout the year. The variety of formats I'll be using are the following: demonstrations, Connect Virtual Lab, Gizmos, and PhET. Demonstrations. I use demonstration lessons at the beginning of some units to grab the interest of the students prior to teaching. These demonstrations will be done during synchronous lessons through Zoom. They will be recorded and uploaded into your child's digital science notebook as a resource. Connect Virtual Labs are accessed through our online textbook, McGraw-Hill. Connect Virtual Labs help students learn the practical and conceptual skills needed and check for understanding. Gizmos are interactive labs that help students develop a deeper understanding of challenging concepts through an inquiry-based approach and exploration. The labs allow students to graph, measure, predict, prove, and compare data. I'll be using Gizmos in small group settings and assigning them individually. And lastly, PhET. They are highly interactive simulations. It's a research-based program that provides visual representation that a textbook cannot provide. It brings harder topics to life to help students understand a concept. It gives students an open, exploratory environment where they can engage in the science concept. If they have a question, a concept, they are able to manipulate a variable and compare results. I can use it as a demo or assign it for homework. So your child will be given the same experiences and they will have a great time doing it. And I hope to see your child in my cyber class next month. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Technology sure has changed the way we are teaching all of our classes, but especially some of these hands-on classes that we're used to. Another question that we're commonly asked is who's teaching our cyber classes? You may have seen in other districts that they are contracting out with different vendors. We want you to know that all of our Westchester cyber classes are taught by our faculty. These teachers have been part of a competitive application process. They have been provided extensive training specific to teaching a fully online environment. As we have expanded our program this year, we are in the process of finalizing additional staffing. Our Westchester Area School District teachers are hired for the cyber program, and they are board approved. We will reflect that on our Westchester Cyber Program page. The link to that is being posted in our chat thread now for your reference. I hope we were able to provide some more information to you as you consider the options available. We will now answer some of the questions that have come up more frequently in the last few weeks. As a reminder, we are continuing to collect your questions through the link provided on the screen. A lot of the families want to know how much live instruction will take place in a cyber program. While this is a really hard question to answer because of so many variables, we did craft a sample student day for you to review. The link to that schedule is being provided in the chat thread. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Amberly Haggerty, one of our cyber English teachers, to explain how our students and teachers will engage with each other in our cyber program.
Hi everyone, I'm Amberly Haggerty. I've been with the district since 2006. Over the course of my career, I've taught grades 6 through 10 reading and English. It's nice to see so many people interested in our program. Cyber English, it will be a mix of what we call synchronous and asynchronous learning, much like a traditional English class. I'll present a lesson, give students time to practice independently and with my guidance. And for example, as you can see on this slide, which is the memoir writing unit, we would start out by working together as a class or in small groups to students' individual needs. And with writing, I always like to model for the students first and then give them a chance to draft their ideas. If some students need more guidance, I'd be able to work with them while others continue at their own pace or pursue some of the built-in enrichment opportunities that I have in my course. And there are also other activities listed here that you can see that would be more independent. The choice reading activity, for example, and the grammar skills work in a program called IXL that we use. So really it's a good mix of live lessons, guided practice, and independent work. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Amberly. As you can see in our cyber program, our ability for students to work at a pace that is comfortable for them and the teacher's ability to personalize the learning experience to meet the needs of your children is really unsurpassed. One of the other frequent questions we have is how large the class sizes will be. Our cyber classes will mirror that of our traditional classes, and we will not overload a class simply because we don't need to fit them into a physical space. For example, if 40 students enroll in 6th grade, we will have 2 sections of cyber 6th grade this year. I appreciate you taking the time this evening to learn more about the Westchester Cyber Program. If you are interested in registering your child for the Westchester Cyber Program, please follow the directions on the screen provided. We will also be sending out a follow-up email tomorrow to all registered participants of the Zoom. That information will also be posted on our website. At this time, Dr. Sokolowski and Dr. Clifton will begin to address some of the commonly asked questions from tonight's program.
Dr. Barnello, I'll be happy to start. And I just wanted to welcome all of our families that are here tonight, listening to this information. I see many of the names in the participant that I've either had a phone call with you or email exchanges. So I know that the interest in the program is really sincere. And I know many parents are asking, well, how do I make this decision without understanding exactly, where we'll be in 2 weeks or where we'll be in about a month from now in terms of the guidance. And really, as Dr. Scanlon had shared earlier, this program is not at all a whim. It is something that goes back years in the making. I think back early when we moved from Moodle to Schoology in 2015, we also introduced a number of blended courses. And looking forward to next year, I can tell you that we already have about 4,000 students across our high schools that will be involved in a blended class. And that would only be possible with the talent of our teachers. So we also offer this decision for you because we know that for some families at this point in time, it's comforting to know that there is this option. And it is supported 100% by the Westchester Area School District. As you see, all courses will be taught by our teachers. So in terms of a timeline, when we initially communicated, we asked families to express that interest by July 13th. Given that the interest has been rather strong at this point in time, we're going to extend that, and really our only next firm deadline would be August 3rd, and that would be at a point in time after which Dr. Scanlon will have delivered his health safety plan or the district's health safety plan to the school district so that parents would have a clearer sense as to how we would return to school. So I simply just wanted to offer you that this program is an assurance, and I think it provides a clear way for how your children could be educated by the Westchester Area School District next school year. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Clifton if she would like to answer a question, and then we'll continue to answer a few questions that came up on the Google Doc.
Sure. One of the questions was about what learning platform we would be using. We will be using Schoology as our learning management system. We have been working on training our teachers on the advanced features. So you will see some very robust activities within that platform. Another big question that I see here a couple times is how will students be able to access their teachers? Students or parents will be able to reach out to teachers through email. Students could even use the messaging system in Schoology, and the teachers would return that message promptly. And if needed to have an in-person session over Zoom, they would be able to set that up. A couple of questions Dr. Sokolowski ask about gifted education and students with IEPs. So I just wanted to remind you, Dr. Barnello spoke of there will be information sent out to all people that are registered for these sessions of a special session that we will be doing with our pupil services division that will make that much clearer.
And Dr. Clifton, just to add to that, as families, particularly of those students who have IEPs, what we're doing as a first step right now is we're putting those families in contact with our special education supervisors so that they can have at least initial conversations to kind of describe how IEP accommodations would look if students were enrolled in the cyber program next school year.
A question about report cards. When you attend our cyber school, you attend a Westchester Area School District school. Your diploma will come from Henderson High School, Westchester East, Ruston High School. There's no special designation that it was a cyber school. Let me see. Another question, which I think is very interesting, and this could be for Dr. Sokolowski or Dr. Barnello, is if schools close again, how would that impact those already in the cyber program?
I could answer that question. That would be one of the benefits of the cyber program. Is that students that would be a part of the program, they would be starting their school year on August 31st with their cyber program teachers. And in the event that we started the year having to go into remote learning, or perhaps 2 weeks later, or perhaps a month later, we may have to go out to remote learning again, the cyber program students, they would remain with their cyber teachers. They would remain in their learning community. They would not be disrupted by having to go back and forth potentially from brick and mortar learning to remote learning.
Right. Another really good question that I see here is, will middle school have a point person who is fully versed in the cyber program for ongoing questions and support? And in our program, we are going to have a cyber coach, and that cyber coach would really be a point person for everyone. And that's someone who is also going to check in on the progress of our students to make sure that everything is working the way that it should, and that students are not encountering difficulty. And I'm going to kind of roll this into another question about the Cyber Center at Fugate. If school is open, that Cyber Center in Fugate will be open, and that's where students could come in to get some extra help, again, from that cyber coach, or through Zoom with their classroom teacher or their subject area teacher. It's also a place that they can come and pick up any supplies that may be needed for a special experiment or art project, something like that.
Okay, I see some questions there too about music. And I can tell you that is something that we're still, especially performing ensembles, so band, chorus, and orchestra, we're still awaiting, further guidance and information as to how our music students will be able to come back when we come back to brick and mortar. But one thing that I want to share with our families here is that we would have the ability to be able to do, through the cyber program, small ensembles and sort of sectional rehearsals with students if they are in the cyber program. But we're looking there to hopefully have some flexibility, but we just need to know a little bit more so about how our music programs are going to be able to come back. And as we all know, that's an integral part of the Westchester Area School District. Our music programs really do certainly thrive.
There's also a question about the physical education cyber and how that will work. We have some excellent phys ed teachers that are working on activities that could be done at home. And again, they may need jump ropes or something like that we would make available to the students. So it's not just sit in front of the computer and just watching videos. It is much more than that. Bob, I would love for you to address how the curriculum in the cyber program is connected to the brick and mortar curriculum.
Thank you. The curriculum in comparison to our brick and mortar curriculum, as everyone here understands, that we are developing this with our own teachers. So it is meeting the standards, it is meeting the scope and sequence of the Westchester Area School District curriculum. There is that when you look at some of the advantages of learning online, there is in some ways an opportunity for students to really receive a high degree of personalization. And that was something that when we go back to the origination of the cyber program, that we certainly wanted to be able to do. And that is something that can be realized through individual activities. It can be realized, in terms of leveraging technology. But to answer that question, Mary Beth, the curriculum is 100% fully aligned to the Westchester Area School District. And as I noticed there in the chat, parents had asked the question, if there's a vaccine, and that would definitely be euphoric. The transition back to our brick and mortar schools would really be as seamless as possible. Certainly it would be a change, but it would not be as if your son or daughter were attending a cyber charter that may have a different scope and sequence, because what you would be transferring back then, it would be completing an enrollment process to come back into our schools. So again, the program is fully aligned, and as Dr. Scanlon had talked about earlier, the students that would be in our cyber program have full access to the resources in our schools. I would even share that if we're able to start the school year, with athletics, with activities going on at our schools, our cyber students would be more than welcome to be a part of all of those programs.
How will we guarantee Zoom classes won't be held at the same time as different subjects? Kristen, would you like to talk about this one?
Certainly. As we continue to staff our program, I am working closely with the building administrators to ensure that all of our cyber staff have their cyber courses at distinct periods throughout the school day. That will allow our teachers to meet with their students during their cyber class period. Students who, for whatever reason, may not be available on that day at that time, those sessions will be recorded so that students who do participate, if they need to go back and review something, I know if I was in middle school and I can go back and Mr. Ferguson was my teacher. As awesome as he is, I may need to go back and check how he worked through a math problem, because math was not always my best subject in middle school. So that would be a huge benefit to our students, is that they would have that live period, but those sessions would be recorded for the students to access and review later on, and then for any students that weren't able to be there.
Thank you. There was a couple of questions in here about cost required. There is no cost required for this program. This is a district program. It would just be the school you're choosing to go to. And that was dovetailed with, are there snow days? There are no snow days in cyber, I believe. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Barnello.
So we have submitted our what's called a flexible instructional plan to the state, and we are pending their final decision on that for all of our students, not just in the cyber program, but we are hopeful that we will be able to work remotely in the case of a snow event or other weather-related event that would keep us home. So we are hoping to receive confirmation that that's been approved here shortly. But as long as that goes through, then we would not have snow days for any students in cyber or in our brick and mortar settings. But that's pending a state review.
There is a question, which I'm sure is on many people's minds, about what technology is going to be given to students. Just as if students were in our brick and mortar, our middle school students will get laptops that they can use. We're hoping that they will be distributed at our opening picnic, but those plans are still ongoing depending on social distancing and all of those. We might have to do a nice little drive-by where people come and pick up the devices, but you definitely will be given school devices for all of the work. We will continue to publish standardized test scores for all of our programs. So that's very important to know. That was a great question. So many good questions in here. There was a question about socialization. We are hoping to have field trips and experiences for the students in our cyber school. Again, that depends on what the social distancing regulations are at the time. We also will be doing hopefully some virtual field trips where we can take groups of students to experience different places. The orientation, I know there are a couple questions in here about how they have the transition camps. We are going to have our own cyber orientation for any student that becomes part of our cyber program.
Hey, Dr. Clifton, I see just one question there about world language, and I know that Dr. Barnello had talked about that. We are offering, as parents can see, many levels of Spanish, but we have heard from families who are interested in level 2 of different languages. So as we start to realize what the enrollment will be, and we start to see what certain world language needs are for students, there is the possibility that we could be adding other languages to the program. I can tell you that we have a group of French 4 students who are very interested in taking their French class online next year. And we'll talk with those high school students and families upcoming at about 7 o'clock. But I just want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. I know that this is a tremendous decision that you have for your sons and daughters and for your families, and not everybody's situation is quite the same. And we also know that things can change very quickly. but I am completely confident in our ability to be able to deliver a quality cyber online learning program that will be personalized for your sons and daughters. I noticed the question there. If we make the commitment for next year, what about 21, 22? Yes, families, we hope that that there will be a vaccine. We hope for certainly better days ahead. I certainly try to remain as optimistic as possible. But you and your families are 100% a part of the Westchester Area School District, and we want to do our very best to meet all of your needs. So Dr. Scanlon, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to say in closing, but I'm just truly impressed with our community and how we're coming together in this difficult time to find a number of solutions to problems that we've never seen before in our lifetime.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Sokolowski, and thanks everybody again for coming out and hearing this brief presentation about our cyber program. Bob mentioned that our enrollment dates are moving. We may move them back a little bit more because there is information changing about guidelines. In fact, we are expected to get some more Department of Health guidelines from the state later this week, and that may change some of the things that we're doing for our plans in terms of opening school in the fall. But we'll continue to update the community on any changes there. The schedule, just to kind of recap, if you look at the schedule again, it is there are some synchronous pieces, some live pieces in there where we want to make sure we're checking in and maintaining contact with our students in this cyber world. But a lot of asynchronous classes. Now that means that there may not be live, but there are a lot of recordings that our teachers are doing. They're working together and working collaboratively to make sure that those videos and discussion boards are all there and appropriate for the kids to work at their own pace. Schoology, someone asked about that. There is we use Schoology in grades 3 through 12 in this school district. We have for the past 5 years. So all of our staff, whether they're in this the cyber program, teaching in the cyber program, or whether they're just working in our classrooms, they are very familiar with Schoology. And that, again, that transition back makes it so much simpler as we transfer assignments from one Schoology page back into another and up into our data system, which we use is called PowerSchool, to formulate the official transcripts. July 20th, just as a reminder again, that is our special education session. Our pupil services department will be presenting how we operate in a cyber world with our special needs children. We have been running a summer program for our special needs children in our extended school year program. We have had some live instruction for students taking place with 6 feet of social distancing, and we have also been doing some online teletherapy with students. So we have some experimental and some pilot programs that we've been doing this summer just to test and see how they work out. So far, they've been working out very, very well in the 2 weeks that we've been doing them. So you'll hear more about how that cyber world works for if you have special needs children and how we can meet the needs of children for that. Getting devices to students is also critically important. Many students have those devices. We may have to change some of them out, particularly for the 6th grade students will need devices. And we will schedule that if we're not able to get back into school in a non-virtual fashion. We will do some scheduling. We did get some practice with that with the virtual commencements that we did at our 3 high schools, driving parents and students in, picking up diplomas, getting pictures, scheduling times for that. So we do have some protocols to follow for that to make that easier for parents and for students. So that first day of school, you'll be ready to go. You have all of your equipment, and assignments will be posted and ready to go for day 1 of our school program. Again, for those who are considering a cyber option because of COVID-19 and the uncertainty, I know as parents we're all weighing options, whether we go cyber, whether we want to send our children back into the schools. Some children may have some illnesses or some compromised immune systems for that reason, or perhaps you're caring for an elderly parent and you're concerned about some asymptomatic transmission of COVID-19 for whatever reason it is, or maybe you're just interested. You've got an Olympic skater and you want a very flexible schedule. Whatever the reason, I know that parents have to debate and decide and look at that. But again, if you're looking at the Westchester Cyber Program, again, as our teachers, our Schoology platform, our learning management system, the transition back, there will be a vaccine for COVID-19. There will be a vaccine. And when we get that vaccine and people want to transfer back into our schools and have part of that activity and the socialization, all those things that we've all been missing these past 5 months, it'll be a much simpler transition for you to come back. So thanks so much for coming out. Thanks for all of your support, as again, we do our very best to get our schools open as safely as possible in this very stressful and anxious time right now. If you have other questions, please, you can send them to Westchester Cyber at WCASD.net. Also, Dr. Barnello is happy to answer and respond to questions, and I know that she's been very busy, as has our cyber team with our instructional coaches, our instructional coordinators, getting back to people. So thanks so much. Please be safe out there, and we look forward to seeing your children in our cyber world if in fact you decide to enroll them in the Westchester Cyber Program. Have a good night, everybody.